Usted habla siempre de la gente que lo apoya, ¿no? El movimiento que tiene detrás de usted, los jóvenes, los hispanos que también le han dado el voto. Sin embargo, los líderes de su partido demócrata, por ser usted del ala más progresista, por ser usted un declarado socialista demócrata, no lo apoyaron hasta el final. Me refiero al congresista a Charles Schumer, me refiero también al propio Barack Obama. ¿Qué dice a usted eso de su partido, no? ¿Qué está diciendo de dónde va el Partido Demócrata? So, you always talk about your movement, which has been proven that you have. You have the youth that voted in records. We have the Hispanics that you lost in the beginning. I mean, not that you lost, that you gained momentum and even more as Governor Cuomo was moving up. We saw the Hispanics shifting towards you, towards the end. So you definitely have the Latino votes. But yet, your own party took a long time to be certain about you and support you. Even, you know, Schumer and President Obama. What did that say about the party itself? Where are you taking the party?
You know, the power of the party comes from the people who belong to it. And to have won the Democratic primary with the most votes in New York City history, to have won this general election with more votes than we've seen in decades, it shows that people are inspired by a vision of a Democratic Party that stands for something. Because for far too long in our politics, all we've said is what we are against. We are against the Donald Trump administration. But what do we believe in? And what we've found is that New Yorkers are desperate for a vision that believes in making the city affordable and also protecting the people of that city. You know, when I speak to New Yorkers today, they're telling me that they're under attack both from the rising cost of living and the administration in Washington, D.C. that is terrorizing them. I was speaking to a Dominican barbershop owner in Harlem. He told me that all of his barbers have status, but all of them are afraid of even coming to work because they don't know if they'll be thrown against a wall by an ICE agent at any time while they're in the city. That has to come to an end.
I'm glad you bring that up because obviously immigration is a big part of our topics all the time. Qué bueno que habla de eso, alcalde electo, porque justamente yo le voy a preguntar, usted está empezando ya a hacer su transición de equipo de gobierno, ya ha escogido a las mujeres que son hispanas que van a dirigir eso, tenemos a una hispana, Grace Bonilla, que va a estar ahí al frente. También ha dicho que quiere que Jessica Tisch se quede en la NYPD. Sin embargo, sabemos que a ella se le avisó por adelantado varias horas antes de que hubiese una redada inmensa en Chinatown, donde personas sufrieron mucho y se generaron muchas protestas. Y ella, por lo que tenemos entendido, dio a entender a los policías que mantuvieran su distancia de los agentes de ICE. ¿Eso no iría en contra de las posturas que usted tiene justamente para enfrentar a la administración Trump? So I'm glad you brought that up when it comes to immigration and trying to fight the Trump administration, because you made very clear in the press conference I've been that your vision is to pick the right people that they can execute your agenda. It's the most important thing, and that's why the next day you picked 4 people. They're very capable with big curriculums. So then you said that the only person you're considering in keeping is Jessica Tisch, that we've known the crime has gone down and she's very effective and all that. However, we've learned that she was made aware of this raid in Chinatown hours prior to that. And she told the NYPD agents to make their distance to the ICE agents. That could be seen in 2 ways. Yes, she's not, you know, making them fight the federal agents, but she's also, in a way, standing by and not doing anything. It could be contradicting in a way to what you're proposing. Your posture. How do you feel about that? Because people are seeing you as someone who's going to stop ICE.
You know, I am clear about the fact that we have to tell the truth about ICE, which is the fact that it is a reckless agency that cares little for the people it supposedly looks to serve, and even less for the laws that it looks to apparently uphold. And we've seen that whether in Canal Street or whether in the ways in which they've detained and deported a girl as young as 6 years old from Queens. And I will continue the policy of ensuring the NYPD is not assisting with the civil enforcement of ICE agents. We've seen our current mayor go on national television and open that door, and I believe that the key here is to ensure that the NYPD are tasked with public safety, not with being assistance to the president's immigration agenda.
But let's put the scenario. We see a picture. ICE is in the streets of New York. What can you do as mayor-elect? ¿Qué puede hacer usted como alcalde si ICE está en las calles?
The first thing is to make clear that the law applies to everyone, whether you are an ICE agent or anyone else in the city, if you break the law, we will hold you accountable. And too long, impunity has come to define the actions of the Donald Trump administration. It's time to make clear that the law applies to all in the same city.
So in that moment, then the ICE would have to get involved. En ese momento, entonces, NYPD tendría que envolverse entonces en contra de ICE. In that moment, then the police would have to confront ICE to make sure they don't do what's not right.
If ICE is found to be breaking the law, then they will be held accountable. And that is the clear and consistent policy that New Yorkers need to see.
Thank you, sir. I know that's a difficult question to answer, and there's no right answer. I guess the same question will be to the National Guard. ¿Qué pasa si viene la Guardia Nacional? ¿Qué puede hacer usted como alcalde realmente? What can you really do as a mayor if the National Guard comes, when we see what's going on in Chicago and other cities?
Well, I agree with Police Commissioner Tisch when she said that we don't need to see the National Guard in New York City. And so often the idea of deploying them, it's justified by the notion of safety. But if it was actually safety that was motivating the Trump administration, they would be deploying the National Guard to the 8 out of the top 10 states with the highest levels of crime. But they won't, because those are all run by Republicans. And this is actually about intimidating these cities across the country. And the importance here is that I, as the mayor, use every tool at my disposal. It's not enough to just decry this on national television. We have to also use the tools of the courts. In California, the mayor of LA, the attorney general, the governor came together, filed a lawsuit. A federal judge found in their favor the deployment was illegal. That is the necessary stance we have to take. For too long in New York City, it has almost felt as if the mayor is forced into stepping up to defend the city as opposed to looking to defend the city.
What about the Venezuelans in New York City? We're talking about 50,000 of them approximately. Hay como 50,000 venezolanos en Nueva York que en este momento están desesperados porque no saben qué van a hacer, están en el limbo, prácticamente se les quitó el TPS. ¿Qué puede hacer usted para ayudar? ¿Puede abogar por ellos realmente? ¿Puede tener una conversación sensata con el presidente Trump de esto? These Venezuelans I was alluding to, 50,000 of them, they're in such limbo. They're so anxious, they have no TPS. Do you think it's realistic that you can have an actual conversation with President Trump and talk on their behalf?
I will have the conversation with President Trump as the next mayor of this city, and what I will be speaking about are the needs of New Yorkers, and that means advocating for an end to these kinds of cruel cuts we've been seeing with SNAP and with healthcare, and also an end to this kind of a limbo, because this does not serve the city of New York, it doesn't serve Venezuelan New Yorkers, it doesn't serve their families, it doesn't serve the neighborhoods that they live in. What people are looking for is clarity, and what this immigration agenda of the federal administration has created is chaos.
I've covered Somos many times in New York. I know how difficult it is to keep this agenda going, but you made a stop today that was very special. So I'm going to ask you about that. The question for me is this, because usted como musulmán fue muy criticado por ciertos sectores y hasta personas durante la campaña, y también porque sentían hasta miedo muchas personas porque usted es musulmán. Sin embargo, hoy lo vemos aquí en Puerto Rico, dándole comida y los almuerzos a los musulmanes hispanos. ¿Cómo vivió ese momento? You were criticized, perhaps because people were afraid, for whatever reason, because you're a Muslim during the campaign. Now you're here in Puerto Rico, and we see you feeding the Muslims, Latinos. How was that moment to you? How did you live that moment?
It was a beautiful moment for me. You know, I am excited to be the next mayor of the city, and I know with that comes a number of firsts, and one of them is being the first Muslim mayor of the city of New York. And so much of the campaign, every Friday was marked by a different mosque that I would visit, just as every Sunday would be marked by a different church. And this is the first Friday prayers that I was able to attend as the mayor-elect, and to be here in Puerto Rico and to meet so many Latino Muslims as well, and speak to the importance of service. Today is a day of service here at Somos, and to me, growing up as a young Muslim man, service was at the heart of my understanding of my faith. And to be able to practice that today, it was an example of what I'm also looking to bring to city government, which is serving the people of the city that I call home.
So when you swear in, you're going to swear it on the Quran. Cuando usted juramente, entonces lo va a hacer en la Biblia o el Corán? Bible or Quran?
I'll be honest with you, I haven't thought too much about the swearing in. I'm right now just thinking about the transition.
That makes sense. And this is about the Spanish.
Yeah.
You've done all this campaign in Spanish.
Yeah.
You've talked in Spanish. Which sounds like you're Spanish when you talk. You've done very powerful campaigns. We've seen all the commercials. So we want to know how is your Spanish going and what are your plans with that? ¿Qué planes tienes? Porque lo hemos visto a usted hablar español, hacer muchos comerciales que han sido efectivos en su campaña y ha contratado a muchos hispanos. ¿Cómo va su español y qué piensa hacer con ese español?
So my Spanish is still very much a work in progress, but I am excited to build that language capacity because it is important to be able to speak to New Yorkers directly. Right now, I'm learning how to do my pronunciations of
¿En Puerto Rico?
La renta.
renta,
Yeah, I used
la
to first say
renta.
la renta. It's not la renta.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, asequible.
Ajá.
But I'm excited to learn the language, and that's something that I'll be doing over the course of being the mayor of the city.
¿Y probó el sancocho? Last time you told me you wanted to eat sancocho.
I haven't yet had sancocho, but I did have some mofongo yesterday.
Mofongo.
Yes, it was great.
Muchísimas gracias, señor
Gracias.
alcalde electo.